What's up, my friends? How's it going? And welcome back to the 4th episode of our Let's Play series as Carthage with your fellow comrades. Summary: some of the characters have increased in rank. We have a political intrigue as well. And let's take a quick look at all of our notifications. All right, unseasonal. Perfect. In the previous episode, it was a rather long episode. We basically rampaged our way across the entirety of Italia, conquering Beneventum with Saba to Mago. We even conquered initially the settlement of Rutibus, wiping out the Mauritanian faction over here. And then after that, with Mago, we marched across the entirety of the Italian peninsula. It was a very nice campaign. We managed to liberate Beneventum to the Samnites. We even managed to liberate Asculum to the Marocchini. We liberated the Gallia Togata at Ariminum. We liberated the Etruscans at Arretium, and we finally liberated the Apuani at Genoa. However, the Romans have pretty much reconquered all of our liberated allies, with the exception, of course, of the Apuani. And we realized the situation was getting dire for Mago, so we kind of pulled out of the Italian peninsula when a lot of Roman armies appeared into the north. What we did in the turns between the episodes is that we actually moved back into the Sinus Gallicus, down towards the Mare Tyrrhenium, and I'm just going to pronounce that Tyrrhenum. All right, and we marched all the way, sailed all the way towards Cosentia, which we are going to attack in this turn, and begin our second campaign in Italia, of course. Meanwhile, we also got a foothold in the Hellenic world. It's all white right here because our color is kind of very similar. You can see a slight shade difference, but our color is very similar to the Ardiaei, who have made quite a substantial foothold in the Hellenic world, thereby limiting our own possibility to expand in the region. Our economy is looking really robust. We're making 23,000 denarii per turn. We have about 26,000 in our treasury. Food is at a surplus of 44. In fact, our economy will even be greater because we completed our research of advanced construction techniques, and now we are researching the punicization, which is basically going to allow us to upgrade our military mercenary camp into the mercenary barracks, which will give us access to some really beastly units like the mercenary Iberian heavy cavalry, some of the best cavalry available to the Carthaginians, of course. We even have the mercenary heavy Celtic spearmen, a robust spear unit with a shield wall capability, and of course one of my personal favorites, the mercenary Iberian champions. 18 melee attack, that's absolutely insane. 9 melee defense, so very offensively oriented unit. 35 armor is really good. Overall weapon damage of 34 of which is armor piercing, and of course they come with all of those extra abilities like guerrilla deployment and really expert at hiding in no matter what terrain it is. So it's a very Iberian type unit. That being said, we are in the process of building up our armies as best as we can, and the reason being is we have the economy that can support 2 new additional armies. We currently have just 2 full stacks. We are trying to bump that up to at least 4 full stacks, and we can possibly even sustain a lot more if we manage to hit Imperium level 5. Also, another thing that actually transpired in the turns between the episodes is that we actually triggered our first Turios reforms for the Carthaginians, meaning we gain access to some new units that we can possibly recruit, including the Carthaginian late citizen cavalry, the Libby Phoenician cavalry, some really good options over here. But of course, I'm not going to be going for a lot of citizen troops. I do want to focus and prioritize on our mercenary troops instead. Meanwhile, Saba to Hannibal, the idea over here is to get him out of Iberia. We're going to leave Hamilcar in Iberia. Hamilcar is the heir of our faction. And of course, he has leveled up. So let's quickly just level him up. We go for the cunning abilities. There we have it. Perfect. And what we're going to do is try to build him up to full strength, and then maybe we could declare war against the Lusitani eventually, because I do want to gain control over these regions and kind of clean up my borders a little bit. Meanwhile, we also consolidated our African coastline by securing the province of our region of Kirtan from the Macedonia, and we are going to slowly integrate all of our subjects over here, but we're just waiting for some growth points, and we're waiting for them to gain some growth points. So the Macedonia and Timbe, I want them to upgrade that settlement if they possibly can. And meanwhile, Capsa, I want them to upgrade at least 5 out of 6 slots. And I am stockpiling my own upgrade slots, which means as soon as I take over Capsa, I'll be immediately able to bump it up from 5 to 6 out of 6 settlement slots. And so there's no real rush in integrating these guys right now. Apart from that, let's take a very quick look at all of our provinces and the amount of money they are generating. As you can see, Hispania is pulling ahead of Africa quite significantly. We're having a little bit of public order issues, but we will try to rectify that with our governor generals. Meanwhile, Africa is making a respectable 15,000 denarii per turn. As you can see, Africa is spec'd to be a agricultural income province. Meanwhile, we have Hispania spec'd to be a commercial province. Apart from that, the only other two regions that we are taxing is Mauritania. No real purpose over here. I'm just doing it because it's not consuming any food nor public order, so why not? Meanwhile, Sicilia itself is kind of like our food generation province, and you can see we're maximizing on the amount of food we can generate. We do have a bit of a piracy situation over here, which is why we are losing out on our public order, but we will try to rectify that situation as quickly as possible. Apart from that, some of our other provinces worthy of mention is, of course, Baetica is our military recruitment province, and we are slowly but surely going to be converting Numidia into another recruitment province. As I explained in the previous episode, I want military recruitment province in each and every single theater we are active in. In Iberia, that's going to be Baetica. In Northwestern Africa, it's going to be Numidia. And of course, in the Hellenic world, it's going to be Macedonia. So that's something that we have to look out for. Apart from that, the Ptolemaic faction has also managed to wipe out Kyrene. They are pretty sizable, and they are also in a war against the Nasamones, which I think will end up losing the war because they're just significantly outnumbered. So we might actually, in fact, go and declare war against the Ptolemies, try to cut them down to size. Let's take a quick look at our political intrigue. Usually in my experience, irrigate in the barren lands intrigue is the best option. So we're going to go with that. We're going to roll with that. Apart from that, we do have a champion up here in the north that I moved out of my army to give us a greater movement range. So what we are going to do over here is the same thing. We're going to follow our raiding strategy, and we can actually bring... Alright, first let's actually go ahead and attack this settlement. And I don't need to see you in the battle because it's not going to be a difficult battle. We're going to quick save over here. We're going to hop into the battle, fight the battle, and then we'll discuss further what it is for Saba to Mago will be conducting in southern Italy. And there you have it, a very decisive victory. Of course, it's not that going to be that difficult. We are using encirclement tactics, and I really hope to be fighting a battle in the open field against a formidable adversary so that I can showcase, excuse me, so that I can showcase how exactly I pull off this strategy. It's a very nice strategy. I kind of like it. And it really minimizes the losses, and we're really focusing a lot on our mobility. However, with that, we are going to go ahead and liberate Cosentia, and that is great. All right, next up, what we can do is we can actually move, I guess, into... Okay, I think over here, that's where I want to move, and we're going to support him with our fleet, of course. So once again, we're just trying to make some gains over here. I think in the next turn, perhaps what we will try to do is we will try to attack Taras, liberate the Tarentine faction, and we're pretty much just going to keep doing that indefinitely, of course. Over here, we have improved our army traditions, so let's go ahead, get the army traditions, especially the ones that improve our replenishment rate. We can go for the infantry as well. Perfect. And now we can take a look at all of our provinces, see if we can upgrade any of the buildings. We can upgrade this barracks over here. Meanwhile, over here, we can go for, since this province is already completely leveled up, we can go for the healer, because eventually that will give us access to the academia. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy with how things are over here. We can go ahead and just build this up, because it does give that +2 public order in all of our provinces, which is great. We can even upgrade some of these buildings, but before we do that, I want to have a quick look and see if we can promote any characters, because that is really important in order to make sure that they are generating the maximum amount from the economy as possible. Apart from that, we also have to move Saba 1 Hannibal. We're going to move him towards Mastia. Eventually, we want to cross over into the African continent. Let's go ahead and give him one of those hoplite units, the Carthaginian Sacred Band units. And we can even upgrade all of his troops since he is active. And yeah, with that, I think I'm pretty happy with this first turn. So we'll have to see how that goes in the future. We will be moving into Africa. We might even attack the Ptolemaic faction and try to gain a foothold over here. Or we might actually move Hannibal all the way to the Hellenic world so that he can support, of course, Gisco. Together they can go ahead and start conquering the Hellenic world. I think we currently are not allied, but we are friendlier with the Ardiaei than we are with the Greeks. And I'm going to flip it around so that I am seen as a liberator of the Greeks instead of, the oppressors of the Greeks. But more importantly, I will be able to attack the Ardiaei, and there are a lot more options of expansion over here that kind of connect my Hellenic colonies. With that, we can go ahead and end the turn, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick look at all of our characters. All of our politics seems to be fine. We have this one single character over here that we can use to improve the public order. Not in Hispania, I think we can do so in Sicilia, so let's go ahead and do that. Slightly improving our public order over there. We definitely have to deal with the pirates eventually, but for now, we are going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We are going to prevent the marriage because our influence is rather low. Child has been born. General has increased in rank. That's great. Our food is looking amazing. Let's go ahead and promote this general. Of course, focusing on the army upkeep wherever possible. And we are also going to be focusing on that cunning so that we can engage in night battles. We're in the process of upgrading our Greek settlement, after which we'll gain access to the Thessalian cavalry, which is a very nice unit to have, of course. And I really love MI's tiny VFX. Just look at that volcanic eruption over there. It looks really fantastic, and it's not always on. It's like sometimes, as you can see, I'm sorry, Mount Vesuvius, which was kind of famous for its volcanic eruption that kind of covered the settlement of Pompeii at that time. Meanwhile, we have Mount Etna over here in Sicilia that's currently dormant, as you can see over there on the map. Meanwhile, our main concern over here is how do we go about attacking this settlement, because they have quite a lot of garrison, and I'm not entirely interested in taking too many casualties. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chill a little bit behind. However, if I chill over there, I can't really... Let's see how far this Roman army can march. Okay, so they cannot march all the way here, so I think it's time to just station ourselves over here, go into a defensive stance so that we replenish a little bit, and then perhaps we can attack Tyrus in a couple of turns. That being said, we're going to look far to our west. Of course, we have Saba 1 Hannibal. We just need 3 more Phalangite units and of course a couple of cavalry units. So we're going to move him into the Iberian Mare Ibericum, into Yol, all the way towards Carthage. We're going to keep marching him, and then he's going to cross into Sicilia, eventually reaching the Hellenic world. That is the plan. Apart from that, we can start to recruit some troops over here. I'm not too interested in recruiting our Phalangite type units, and the reason being is, okay, so our Balearic Slingers over here are looking quite good, in fact. So we might as well just disband these Balearic Slingers and get these guys instead, because I kind of like the new unit card, to be honest. And we need 4 Phalangite units, really, or phalanx type units, frontline troops. So that will bring us up to 17. We need an extra cavalry, and we need a couple of Numidian cavalry, because I really like the Numidian cavalry. Very useful, very quick, very nimble. So let's go ahead and get those guys. And with that, we're looking quite good. What we desperately need is a final unit of Lusitani mercenary lancers. However, if that doesn't happen, as soon as we upgrade this building, we will be able to get a much more superior cavalry, which is the mercenary Iberian heavy cavalry. So we will definitely fill up that army with those cavalry instead. In other areas, we're just taking a quick look at all of our provinces, see what we can achieve over here. We're going to focus, of course, on the growth rate over here, so that you know, we're able to maximize our growth rate in Numidia as quickly as possible, and then slowly but surely we will take over some of these other settlements when you know, when it's the right opportunity to do so. However, with that, nothing much else to do in this turn. We have about 3 turns before we can start getting at Thessalian cavalry, and before we can actually start attacking the Ardiaei. Now, the Ardiaei do have a decent amount of armies in the region. Our main focus is, of course, going to be, in this episode, is to kind of try to consolidate the Hellenic world under our grip. However, that's going to take some time, because I will need a Saba 3 Gisco to get access to a couple of those cavalry units. And apart from that, I will also need for Saba 1 Hannibal to make it all the way to Apollonia, where he can recruit a couple of cavalry as well, and then start to invade further deeper into you know, these territory over here. However, with that, we're going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to a couple of turns into the future. Let's quickly level up our characters over here. Want to focus on that cultural conversion with this guy. And a little bit of a development. We have a lot of Roman armies in the region, and so I guess it's kind of time for us to move out. Meanwhile, not entirely sure, these guys are at war with the Romans, so yeah, they are going to be taken out really quickly. We're just going to move into the sea region over there. And I think there's not much this army can do in Italy anymore. We have quite a lot of Roman armies. They have militarized heavily. I mean, just look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full stacks that I can basically see. I don't know how many I can't see at the moment. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's not going to be easy to keep raiding the Italian peninsula anymore. So I guess right now the objective is to kind of move towards Apollonia with this army, and begin to attack the Ardiaei, who are actually attacking Athens at the moment. So yeah, we'll definitely move in that direction. Meanwhile, over here we can move Saba 1 Hannibal all the way towards Acragas. We're gonna eventually get into the settlement, and what we are gonna try to do over here is we're just gonna stay put until our fleet is free to move about and come and escort him all the way towards the Hellenic world. So we'll have 3 full stacks in the Hellenic world, and of course we can use Mago for any future invasions if we are interested in doing so. Meanwhile, Saba 5 under Hamilcar is going to retreat back towards Kartuba. I basically moved him to Mastia so that he can get a unit of the Sacred Band, of course. And now we are just going to be waiting for this barracks to complete, after which I will fulfill my army by getting all 3 of these unit types into that army. So it should be a very professional army. And it seems for the most part I'm not able to acquire this province of the Lusitanians because they're not really friendly with us. So I might actually just declare war against them and take out Brigantium as well as Olisipo. However, with that, we can take a quick look at our provinces. The buildings are almost completed, just another 2 turns, and Africa will get bumped up to even greater economy. I'm guessing somewhere around the 30,000 mark, which is going to be absolutely insane. Meanwhile, some of our other provinces also looking quite good. I think it is time that we can start just, improving all of these regions, because we have quite a lot of money. We're generating quite a lot, so we don't really have to worry. Meanwhile, over here, we can improve this building just a bit more, because why not? And we can even start to improve. We don't really need to improve this. And over here, Once again, we don't need to improve that, but you know what I'm going to do? I don't need to tax this province anymore because I'm not making any money out of it, and we're going to dismantle that, just basically try to build it up to the best that we possibly can. Let's just focus a lot, so we are going to improve a lot of our provinces, spend a lot of money in order to do so. However, with that, we can also just move our champion out of there and kind of move him towards Gisco. Yeah, there's nothing much else left to do in this turn. We're going to go ahead and end the turn, and in the future we are going to resume the video when I'm ready to declare war against the Ardiaei. Speaking of which, we do have a trade agreement with them, so I think it is kind of time to cancel our trade agreement with them. The Romans are at war with them also, so this should make things a little bit interesting. Some of their armies might march all the way up north towards Iada and then try to get towards Delminium, but we're going to prevent them from doing so. Any of the provinces they conquer outside the Italian region, we are going to directly control and prevent them from growing to a significant size. However, defeating the Romans is not going to be easy in Italia, because you can just see how many armies they can field over there. And these are not just any armies. Just look at how elite that army really is. So with that, I am going to go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. All right, welcome to a couple of turns into the future. Nothing much of note has happened in the turns between the turns, and we have managed to move all of our armies towards Illyria, and we are going to soon attack the Illyrians. Meanwhile, over here we can just start to move our fleet all the way towards Acclimatising, and we are going to go into the port over here. The Illyrians still laying siege to the Athenians. The Athenians have taken a bit of a beating, which means the Illyrians might be able to defeat them. If they do not attack them in this turn, then we can kind of save Athens from that eventuality. However, if they do take over Athens, then we are just quickly going to move towards Athens and take it out for ourselves. Meanwhile, the champion over here, we're slowly trying to move him back into these armies. Apart from that, our economy looking really good, 32,000 denarii. Africa has been leveled up, and as you can see, we're making 20,000 denarii per turn in Africa. Hispania is just a turn away from being completely upgraded, and as far as its main settlement buildings are concerned, we are upgrading everything in Tingis as possibly as we can, and that is obviously going to be our main objective. We are going to try to upgrade as many of the buildings we can, beginning with, of course, the cheaper settlements, and working our way up through the more expensive ones, so that we can build as many buildings as possible in the same turn. However, with that, not much else left to do in this turn. I know I kind of paused because I kind of expected that I would be able to launch my invasion of the Illyrians. However, it is winter, which means my movement range is really less, so I can't really do much about that. So yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see for the next turn, in which I can definitely attack the Illyrians. However, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Hamilcar has increased in level, missing taxes in Mauritania. That doesn't mind, because we have actually turned off the taxation over there, and it is Hamilcar who is leveled up. So this time we're going to go for the movement speed, definitely. And we have an additional ability. We can go for the military conscriptor that gives us more replenishment rate. In about 11 turns, we should be able to upgrade our army with the remaining troops that we need, using that final level of mercenary barracks. Of course, we're going to take a quick look at all of our provinces. You can see we're making close to 40,000 denarii per turn. Hispania is making 31,000. We're losing quite a bit of public order. But we are waiting for opportunity to build a temple over here that will kind of counteract that public order issue just a little bit. Meanwhile, over here we can go ahead and start building some buildings. And over here we want a shrine of core to further boost our economy in Africa. Over here we're going to keep a close eye on our subjects, see if they actually upgrade any of the settlements. And if they do that, we can then quickly just nab those regions off of them. Meanwhile, we are going to deploy our fleet back into the port of Acclimatising. we can in fact just start to move Sabat 1 Hannibal all the way towards Apollonia, because that's going to be the eventual objective. We want to get him into the Hellenic world and involved in our war over here. All the way in the Hellenic world, of course, Athens still under siege by the Illyrians. I don't think the Illyrians will be able to take over the settlement, but I'm not too concerned, because my main objective, of course, is to try to wipe out the remaining of the Illyrian faction before the Romans can get a sizable foothold on them. And in order to do that, we will kind of have to move our army in this direction and, attack the settlement of Epidamnos, their capital. Meanwhile, they do have an army over here, but they shouldn't be able to attack Apollonia. We have quite a decent garrison in Apollonia, which actually includes some cavalry as well, because, of course, we have the mercenary barracks over there. So I'm pretty happy with our garrison. I'm not too concerned. But what we definitely need to do is try to culturally convert this province. Meanwhile, our champion over here can move towards Epidamnos as well. And what we are going to do is we're just going to go ahead and attack Larissa. Quick look to see our diplomacy. The Ardiaei aren't really allied with anyone. What we can do is establish a trade agreement. Perhaps create a puppet state. Nope. We can ask to join the war against the Ardiaei. That'll be pretty high. Establish a trade agreement, create a puppet state. No, we cannot. So I guess we just ask to join the war, ask for some money, because why not? And then we are going to ask for a trade agreement. Let's get that trade agreement up and running. Perfect. And we're going to ask for non-aggression and military access. Nope, they're not interested in that. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. Meanwhile, the Pictones, we can possibly establish a trade agreement with them. That is actually massive, because the Pictones have access to horses as a resource, which will actually allow us to build stables, which will improve our own horses. And we have to pretty much identify a good province in order to do so. And I think Baetica is that province going into the future. So as soon as that happens, we are going to go ahead and build up a stable so that we get access not only to the horse resource, but we can also improve our horsemen. However, with that, let's go ahead attack Larissa very quickly. It's a decent garrison, and we can also attack Epidamnos. Once again, very decent battle over here. So we are going to quick save over here, hop into the battle. I will see you all in the battle, because we do want to take out Epidamnos without any serious losses. And then we are going to try to push towards Delminium, capture Iada, because the Romans are not allowed to have any colonies outside of Italia. We are the Telosocratic Empire, so not the Romans. So definitely we're going to keep them contained within Italy. However, with that, I'm going to quick save over here, fight this first battle at Larissa, which I won't be showcasing. And I'll see you all for the second battle at Epidamnos. Alright, there you have it, a very decisive victory, a good battle again, but we took some losses, of course. The Ardiaei garrison are nothing to scoff at. We took a loss to our pikemen, because of course they're going to be a lot more vulnerable to missile fire. And one of our Thessalian cavalry just got in a little bit of a tricky situation with a spear unit, so they kind of lost a couple of units. However, we're not too concerned. What we are going to do over here is we're going to sack as well as loot the settlement. So let's begin with the sack first, and we are going to go ahead and loot it on the second round. And there we have it. Okay, now we are in a good position over here. What we can do is just start to repair some of these buildings. Quick look over there. All right, we can actually just dismantle this building over here, because we can build an outpost over there eventually. Meanwhile, we have leveled up over here as well. So we're going to go the stalwart defenders, keepers of the peace, and the accomplished skirmishers for Gisco. And very quickly, we are going to fight this next battle. And this time I will be showcasing the battle against this garrison. It's a pretty big and massive garrison, so I'll see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to the Battle of Epidamnos. Of course, we have our Carthaginian army led by, I believe, Mago, and I'm not entirely sure. But of course we have a typical formation. We do have some changes in our army composition, as of course we are rolling with kind of different mercs in every different army. We do have our African elephants as well as our Carthaginian shock cavalry, as well as some mercenary Lusitani shock cavalry, and they're pretty good. Apart from that, of course, we do have our Numidian cavalry all the way out there. Meanwhile, our core center is formed of hoplite. These guys are basically the mercenary Greek hoplites available to the Carthaginian faction. I will be looking to replace them with either pikemen or the veteran Greek mercenary hoplites available in Hellas. We have, of course, initially gotten a foothold in the Hellenic world, and we're trying to expand our influence in the region, of course. And we are up against the Illyrians over here, the Ardiaei to be specific, and they are going to be reinforced by an army as well as a navy. They have quite a sizable navy, and the idea over here is to pretty much try to engage the garrison before, of course, that they can be reinforced by the army that is going to march in, because they do have a pretty significant army that is on the outskirts of the city, if I'm not mistaken. They should be able to join the battle quite quickly, and as of now, watching the replay, I can see that they're most likely going to be coming from the western side of the battlefield. If you take a look at the bottom right hand corner over here near the map, you can see that that's pretty much covered by the fog of war, which means that they could possibly reinforce from that direction. Keep in mind, like the Alexander video, I have kind of recorded the episode way beforehand, so I'm actually recording the battle later because I was working on the Marian faction overhaul for the new 1.3.5 public beta, and I have to say, guys, it is going really well. It has actually been integrated into the beta. The beta itself not yet available to the public, but from my understanding and actually testing it out, it seems like the integration is almost completed, and it also seems like the beta is going to be released quite soon. But very quickly over here, we do align our hoplites into a solid hoplite phalanx wall. I was about to say pike wall, which is not accurate because although in effect it is very similar to a pike wall, what we have over here is a hoplite front line. And not entirely sure why no enemy reinforcements as of yet even coming on through the fog of war, and I think that's because they are already maxed out at that 40 units in the battlefield. So right now what we're trying to do is we're just going to wait for the horde of enemy garrisons to kind of rush and overwhelm our center. Typically we like to fight using the Battle of Cannae tactics, although in the historical Battle of Cannae you had a weaker center which was kind of eventually pushed back and allowed for an inverted crescent to happen. But over here what we're doing, we're having a solid center, but we are going to use our lighter mercenary troops on the flanks. Of course, over here we have a Sicilian mercenary swordsman, as well as of course the Turdetani spearmen skirmishers, which actually have a shock spear entry. And these guys, I really like them because they have quite a lot of missiles. They have ammunition of 4, which means they're going to do quite a lot of damage before they even engage in a melee. So that's really good. Apart from that, you can see that our elephants are starting to slowly move into the settlement. We're trying to slowly encircle the enemy and deal a decisive blow. But as you can see, our hoplites are now engaged in a melee. They are going to be pretty sturdy in that melee. They're not going to be taking too many casualties, which allows our flanking troops just enough times to get around and try to hit them from the rear. Over here, I notice in the right hand side of the battlefield, of course, that they do have some missile units that are kind of isolated. Of course, they're only supported by a unit of light melee troops, which this actually opens up a perfect opportunity for my elephant units that are going to charge in here and just absolutely smash this unit, quickly destroying their numbers. Meanwhile, our own Carthaginian or Lusitani mercenary shock cavalry is going to deal another decisive blow to the enemy missile units, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do over here. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, nothing much is happening. We're just using our Numidians a little bit defensively, but they are going to be doing what they do best, which is skirmishing, just hurling their javelins into the unshielded side and the rear of the enemy units. And I have to admit that playing with the field of depth turned off is kind of nice, because I mean, field of depth is more cinematic, but in reality there would be no such thing as a field of depth for the human eye. It's more of a camera effect if you kind of take a photo with a camera, as the camera is limited by that focus, of course. But one thing I do like is that, of course, it does give a much more crisp view of the battlefield. And so I do thank that YouTuber who actually suggested for me to turn off that field of depth of field. But once again, we have dealt with that right flank, and now we're charging into the rear of the enemy units that are engaged with our own melee troops that are flanking melee troops. So the idea over here is to free up our flanking melee so that they can keep charging into the enemy, and that's exactly what our Scalian warriors are doing over here, continuing to push into the enemies, and they are just getting no break whatsoever. Of course, our elephants are charging into the fray, just smashing these units, rolling up the Carthaginian lines. And what we're doing over here as well is just taking care of some more of the missile units. Right now the enemy is in a really bad position. Our hoplite corps is done relatively well. They've taken less than 10% casualties per unit, of course, 10 to 20% casualties each, but we have completely exposed the enemy rear, and we are going to go ahead and just a rear charge over here, devastating rear charge from all sides by our elephant units, of course. And we are going to rout the enemies from the field of battle. But before I perform rear charges, I do like to position my units a little bit more optimally so that they can absolutely charge into the rear of the units, with a nice perfect rear charge. And there you can have it. You can see some units being just totally tossed aside, and of course you're going to see the entire enemy army break and rout. And I think what I did over here is that, since this is one of the older videos, is that I actually played with the control large armies turned off, which is why that reinforcing Ardiaei army couldn't really fight in the battle, which I guess is a good thing. And I could have fought off against them. I haven't taken any casualties, so I could definitely have crushed them as well in this battle. And going forward, I'm not going to be using that tactic. I'm not going to be trying to cheese the AI, although I have mentioned in my Alexander series where I've stopped using this tactic, of course, since I have received criticism for using this tactic. I have a showcase that you can still end up winning a battle, and in fact, in most circumstances, you actually win the battle a lot more decisively and actually gain a much greater advantage in the campaign. However, that being said and done, let's go ahead, stop this battle, and hop right back into the campaign. And there you have it, a heroic victory over here. We were outnumbered almost 3-2, and we haven't taken a lot of casualties. Just a single Numidian cavalry has taken a decent amount of casualties, but we can go ahead and see what we can do with the settlement of Epidamnos. We might want to sack the settlement, depending on the fleet. Of course, they do have a fleet, or the fleet has been totally wiped out, which means we can just go ahead and loot the settlement directly, because the main objective was to wipe out the fleet entirely, to be honest, so that they cannot terrorize us in the Adriatic Sea. However, with that, we have firm control of Epidamnos. What we are going to do is we are going to deploy ourselves into the port so that we can replenish in the end turn, and we are going to start dismantling all of the buildings and repairing the buildings that we need in this region over here. With that, we can go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. But before we do that, we have quite a lot of money, so we might as well check what we can build. So we can upgrade these buildings again, upgrade a couple of those. And as you can see right now, we have more or less built, in the process of building every single building, and we still have a lot of money. We're making 41,000 denarii already per turn, but of course our public order is a little bit suffering, so we'll have to deal with that really soon, really quick. Let's take a quick look at our characters, see if we can actually promote any of them, because that is of course going to be very important for us to do. We have a character over here that we can promote, so we might as well do that. And let's start to see our loyalty is fairly good, and one of our characters has come of age, so we can marry him off. And in fact, a couple of them have come of age, so we can marry him off and we can start to improve the public order in some of our provinces. We'll begin with Illyricum, work our way towards Sicilia, and then pretty much we'll work our way throughout all of our other provinces. As far as our Imperium level is concerned, we're slowly rising. We want to hit that Imperium level 5, which is going to be the crucial level of Imperium that we need. And then after that, we are going to be recruiting a lot more armies, and I mean a lot of new armies. However, with that, I'm going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have a little bit of a situation on our hands. Let's just go for the infantry or the cavalry. I think the infantry will be better. And a trade agreement has been dissolved with the Athenians because the Illyrians have gone ahead and conquered that settlement. Meanwhile, over here, we can start to improve some of these buildings over here. And character has increased in rank. It's Himilcar. So let's actually give him the empire maintenance, as well as we're going to focus on the public order because we really have to reverse the public order situation over here. Yeah. Quick look to see all of our provinces, if we can further build them up. And we can go ahead, dismantle this building. Build a... Okay, this can go all the way to a level 4, so I might as well build a military port over there. And we're going to focus on a couple of buildings over here. In fact, you know what? I'm going to build 2 temple buildings over there. The reason being is I want to quickly culturally convert this province. The real situation I wanted to talk about is, of course, we have a Roman army over here that they could potentially attack Apollonia, and there's no way I can actually reach Apollonia. Can they actually move to another area? They cannot. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this army out of the way so that it cannot attack Epidamnos. I'm going to go ahead and wipe out this army with a quick auto-resolve. Just enslave up all the captives and quickly move towards Apollonia to secure it. This army cannot move there, but the fleet certainly can move towards Epidamnos. So we might actually lose Epidamnos in this turn. In the upcoming turn, but we'll be able to then wipe out that Roman fleet, so I'm not too concerned. The main thing over here is to actually start moving our other army into the Hellenic world. As you can see, a lot of the focus is going to be in the Hellenic world itself. Speaking of the Hellenic world, of course, we do have a situation over here where the Athenians have been wiped out, so we're going to go ahead and attack over here. I am going to go ahead and maybe fight this battle. I don't think so. I can just simply auto-resolve it. So I'm just going to auto-resolve it. I don't really care. Can't be bothered. And we are going to loot the settlement. Just simply loot it and deploy ourselves into the port so that we kind of replenish a little bit in the end turns. Let's go ahead, turn off the taxation over here. We're going to focus on building up our buildings and can dismantle any of the other buildings. In fact, we can eventually convert this into a stable so that we do not lose our access to the horse resource before we can go ahead and build it up in Baetica, of course. That being said, we're going to have a quick look at all of our buildings. We're looking quite fine, quite decent, and our Imperium level slowly but surely is kind of on the rise. So just in another 3 or 4 settlements and we should be able to hit that Imperium level 5, which is really, really crucial for us. However, with that, not much else left to do in this turn. What we are going to do, however, is just check if we can promote any of our characters, and we can't really do that. Meanwhile, our influence has reduced a little bit, so we have to focus our level best on trying to send characters on missions over here. So let's focus on Hellas, since we recently conquered that province, and we can even focus on the food in Hispania, although we don't really need to do that. The main thing over here is that we want our influence to be at least balanced in the Senate, which we have achieved. In doing so, we haven't really tanked the loyalties of our political rivals. What we can do further is to actually decrease our taxation, because that's not that significant of a drop, and it'll actually improve the loyalty of several of our faction political rivals. That being said, our champion over here can go ahead and deploy into this army, and we are just going to be stationed and waiting over here in Apollonia, eventually trying to take over the province itself. Over here, we're going to move our dignitary down south and start deploying him in Athenae, in anticipation, of course, of culturally converting this province as best as we can. Hellas is one of the hardest provinces to convert because it's pure Greek. However, with our dignitary over there, we should have no trouble doing so. And since we have conquered Athenae, we might be able to establish a trade agreement with these Spartans, and that is exactly what I'm going to try to do. Let's go ahead, get that trade agreement, make them pay for it, perhaps even give them a military access. They're not interested in that. And we have several other factions over here. We have Bithynia. We can establish a trade agreement with them. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, perfect. And Pergamon, we can even establish a trade agreement with you. Want to maximize our trade over here. And the Odrysians, you're pretty massive. We're going to try to establish a trade agreement with you. You're not interested. Alright. I guess. I don't know why exactly. But they're hostile because we're kind of friendly with the Athenians. But I don't really mind that. However, with that, we're going to have to wait and see. We definitely want to attack Pella, take over that province and that region, consolidating our holding over Macedonia. Our main concern, of course, is going to be Epidamnos being attacked by this Roman fleet, which I estimate will happen in this end turn. However, without any further ado, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to the next turn. A character has returned from mission. We're gonna quickly check our characters over here. If we can promote them, we can focus on the empire maintenance. And as you can see, our empire maintenance is pretty low, but not that low. We definitely want to reduce it even further if we can possibly do so. Let's go ahead and promote Makal over here. And then we can take a quick look at our provinces. We're making quite a lot of money. We can convert this into a stables and build a temple over there to help with that cultural conversion. Apart from that, we have also leveled up over here, so we can actually enable this, and we can get a precinct of core over there that will help a little bit with the sanitation, as well as, of course, with the public order issues that we're facing in Hispania. We can make a lot more money from Hispania, guys. It's just that we don't have a lot of public order, and with our Vox Populi Submod, you can see that we're not getting a lot of tax because our public order is not that high. However, if we improve that, then we can get much better public order. We're slowly inching Saba 1 Hannibal towards the Hellenic world. Meanwhile, the Odrysians have also declared war against us, so we got to be a little bit careful of how things go or how things develop over there. I think Larissa is a little bit vulnerable, but these guys can't really reach it that easily, so I'm going to stick in Hellas for a couple of turns to replenish, and then I'm going to move into Larissa, and then we can invade Pella. We can perhaps even establish a peace with the Odrysians if we pay them a significant amount, perhaps. Perhaps they're not interested, and I don't think they are going to be interested, so yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. However, the Romans didn't attack us in Epidamnos, which has given us enough time to gain a little bit of a garrison. Nothing too fancy, so they still could potentially attack the settlement. But I think the main thing over here is to just protect Apollonia, get our army into Apollonia, and then, move the other army to protect Epidamnos. And then we're even going to strike at Delminium and perhaps even conquer Iader. Or maybe we have to push towards Nasos. So it's a little bit precarious situation over here, especially in the Hellenic world. We have 3 armies over there, and it kind of makes sense because we're fighting against 3 factions. The Ardiaei, who pretty much hold Pella as well as Delminium. The Odrysian kingdom that has consolidated its control over the entire province of Thrace. And of course we have the Romans all the way in Iader that we will have to eventually push them out of that area as well. With that, we can go ahead and end the turn. We have quite a decent amount of food surplus at 50, a good amount of treasury at 80,000 denarii, and of course we have a lot of net income per turn. I'm just quickly going to check if I can actually peace out the Romans. I'm not entirely sure if I will be able to. We're going to try to give them all of our money. They're still not interested. Meanwhile, the Odrysians, can I pay you a significant amount? Because I really do not want to fight you right now. Alright, they're not interested as well. Maybe the Ptolemaic faction, also not interested in a trade agreement. So yeah, we have to be really careful because the Ptolemaic faction, if they declare war against us, Africa is pretty undefended at the moment. But we'll have to see how that pans out in the future. With that, I am going to go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when I'm ready to push my offensive into, Illyria as well as the remainder of Macedonia. Alright, welcome to the future. We are in an end turn, and of course the Ardiaei are trying to establish a peace treaty with us, but we have no interest in doing so because we are actually more interested in outright conquering them. The current situation is we are besieging their capital of Delminium, and we did not go ahead and attack the settlement because we are massively outnumbered. If I refuse this peace agreement, they are definitely going to attack us over here, and that's what's happening. So let's just quick save over here. We're going to hop into the battle. We're significantly outnumbered, at least 2-1. So we're really going to have to pull off some Hannibal kind of a victory over here. So let's just quick save, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, here we are in the Battle of Delminium. We were besieging the settlement, and of course the garrison, supported by the army within the garrison, is going to sally out and fight us. And this is no real army to scoff at, although they might seem inferior to our own units. A lot of these units actually have quite decent armor penetration. A lot of these Illyrian troops are axemen, so they can really cause some serious damage if we're not careful. The idea over here is to try to quickly take out these armor penetration type of units and try to turn the battle in our favor. Of course, they are going to be leaving the high ground since they are on the offensive, and they're going to meet us down somewhere over here. This slight inclination in the battlefield might still count as a territorial disadvantage. However, it's not going to be as much if, let's say, I was to fight uphill in that mountain. So we're not at a significant disadvantage, except, of course, for our numbers. And I'm actually starting to see that we are having some reinforcements trickle down. I think these are the enemy reinforcements. Yes, there we have it. We have some of the enemy cavalry that's charging into the fray. Of course, they are supported by some other units that we just lost line of sight of because of the foliage over here that's covering them. But there you have it. You have another couple of units that are slowly emerging from the woodwork over there, so to speak. But we are not at all concerned. What we are trying to do is our typical encirclement strategy over here. Hoplite are going to form up the core center, and we are a little bit too late in deploying the phalanx formation. I should have deployed it over here because, the phalanx formation actually offers a lot more defensive bonuses, but there you have it. You can see that we have enabled it right now, and it does offer a significant defense bonus against enemy javelins. You can see some of my Hoplite phalanx have taken quite a bit of casualties because I failed to do that in time. So yeah, here are some of the things that I can talk about the micromanagement of my units, and sometimes I don't execute battles to perfection, as you just saw over there. It's a minor mistake. However, it's not a massive battle losing kind of a mistake or a decisive mistake. And I rarely ever make such decisive mistakes, but I do make these smaller mistakes that I don't really point out to you guys, but I feel that I should because it will kind of help you micromanage your armies a little bit better. However, right now you can see that the enemy is actually delaying, which is a really, really good tactic over here, and I am getting a little bit restless because I do not want to fight the combined might of the enemy forces. So I am pushing up my troops in order to pin down and engage these units. The idea over here is to wipe out this first army as quickly as possible, as decisively as possible, before the second army can reinforce. And you can see we are really in an uphill battle for time because a lot of their reinforcements are really close to joining the battle, so we don't have a lot of time over here. So we are charging our units ahead and engaging the enemies as quickly as possible. Of course, we are going to move our general in order to apply his buffs to the army, of course. And there we have it. We have our elephants and our cavalry on the right flank that have managed to encircle the enemy. They're going to charge into the enemy rear and try to devastate the enemy as much as possible. There you have it. You have elephants charging into missile units. It's going to be pretty much a slaughter over here. Nothing much they can do against elephant units. It is a javelin unit, which means if they hurl javelins, they could deal out some damage, but you need way more than a couple of volleys to dish out damage against elephant units. Elephant units are vulnerable to javelins, but if you're able to close the distance and get in melee with the javelin units, then you have a significant advantage. And over here you can see we're starting to crush that right hand side of the enemy battlefield, and that is exactly what we are hoping for. Trying to quickly execute the battle as quickly as possible. Over here, just a little bit of delaying tactics with our Numidian cavalry. They're really fast, so I decided to just charge the enemy, buy myself a little bit of breathing room so that I can mop up this enemy army over here before the new wave of army comes in. And the reason I chose my Numidian cavalry to do so, as you can see, they have taken hardly any losses, and that's because they are extremely fast. They have a speed of 8, which is among the fastest speeds of cavalry unit. And what this means is that they can quickly disengage from these units, and the main objective, of course, is to just slightly delay them, of course. And what we are going to try to do is just wipe out this army. So just in the nick of time, we managed to wipe out the first army entirely, and now we're just moving our elephants out of danger, because of course you have a bunch of spearmen over there. You don't want your elephants to get bogged down. Of course, they're going to be a lot harder to kill because they are elephant units. They do have a lot of health. But if you stay in combat with spearmen for a very long time, then there's a very good chance that you could lose that engagement. So the best thing to do is to actually move out of the engagement. And you can see some chaotic kind of movement over here. I am trying to counter move over here, where I'm moving the unit I intend to move forward and the elephants in the exact opposite direction. This is the best pathfinding technique possible, and I do recommend it when you need to cycle out units. What a lot of players do is that they leave one unit stationary and then they try to move another unit across it. And while this is a lot better than 2 units moving in the same direction, the best outcome is to actually move in opposite directions. So the unit you want to move forward, let it move forward, and the unit you want to move back, let it move back. And that is the quickest way to untangle your units from having their pathfinding conflict with each other. But however, over here you can see on the right flank we are charging in with our Gallic axemen over here, just trying to hack at the enemy. These guys are really good at flanking maneuvers, so that's exactly what we're trying to do. Meanwhile, Numidians once again being more defensive, just hurling their javelins, trying to soften the enemy up over here, soften the enemy resolve, and slowly take down their numbers. We have all our elephants up on one flank, and the main idea over here is to kind of charge into the rear of the enemies with our elephants, of course. And there you have it. Charging into the rear of a hoplite phalanx formation is going to be absolutely brutal, guys. There's pretty much nothing they can do. They're going to get absolutely crushed over here, as you can see, and they are completely shattered. Meanwhile, you can see that we have the balance of power in our favor, which means we have performed a victory over here, and of course a heroic victory, because we were outnumbered at least 2 to 1, which means in the next turn we can take over the settlement of Delminium. And there you have it, a heroic victory. We managed to break them down, the Ardiaei. They only have about under 2,000 survivors. We lost only 500 men. Really good tactics over there. Our frontline troops are not that great. They will take quite a bit of losses, especially our first class population, Sacred Band, unfortunately. So what we are going to try to do is we're trying to change it up a little bit, but they are doing their job as far as I'm concerned. With that, we can go ahead and just enslave up all of these captives, and in the next turn we can just outright conquer the settlement of Delminium. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Let's improve our characters. We have a governor general over here that we can get some abilities. Let's go ahead, get that, and perhaps we can even promote him, so let's do that. Excellent. And then we're going to take a quick look at all of our provinces. We do have a piracy situation in Africa, but I'm not too concerned. Meanwhile, over here, we have gone ahead and dismantled that building. I don't really like the Thessalian cavalry. They're not that great. So yeah, I'm not going to be sticking around with those units. Apart from that, we are slowly building up all of our provinces, and as you can see with that new mod, the road submod, you can see that the roads have started to become paved roads, especially against settlements, with the maximum level of road development that can be seen in the tooltip over here. The second modifier, the road development. So the minute two of your provinces have 10 road development between the two of them, the roads between them will become paved. Meanwhile, so just for a quick example, you can see Gadir has about, I believe, 3 road development, so that's a little bit surprising. But Kartuba has quite a lot of more road development, so yeah, I don't know, but basically if 2 settlements have 10 development, road development each, a paved road is created between them, increasing your movement range, and I really like the visual additions to it. Let's quickly move Saba 3 Gisco up into Larissa. He can replenish right now, and after that we might in fact even attack Pella, but it's not going to be easy. However, the main focus is of course wiping out the army over here. Let's go ahead, do that, and we are going to loot the settlement entirely. And with that, we have taken yet another stronghold of the Ardiaei. We're going to go ahead and dismantle all of the buildings we don't need and repair the buildings we require. And in the next turn, we probably will be attacking Iada. But I will have to move back towards Epidamnos in order to replenish a little bit before I can push my offensive towards Iada. It's going to be very interesting how I deal with this situation, and that's because, you know, we have no idea what the Romans are capable of over here. One of the things I could do is after I attack Iada, I could travel by the Adriatic Sea, you know, liberate Patavium and then hop back into the sea and return back to Iada, thereby destroying the road connection that the Romans have towards Illyricum. However, with that, we're going to take a quick look at all of our buildings, see if we can build anything. Right now we can't, and we are focusing on, of course, Hamilcar. We want him to get the maximum amount of gravitas so that his succession is secured, and we do have Makal, who does have slightly more gravitas, so we are going to try to use him to improve relationships of several other parties that will significantly drop his gravitas, and there you have it. Hamilcar has the highest gravitas. Over here we can send Pisin to improve the public order in Hispania. That is a real concern. Hispania is declining a lot as far as public order is concerned, and we will have to rectify that quickly with our governor generals, but for now we're looking quite good. And over here we have almost done recruiting up this army. What we will need, however, is we're going to get rid of that Thessalian cavalry. We'll need a couple more cavalry, but we're going to wait. You know what, we'll actually get a couple of mercenary cavalries for now, just temporarily, so that we can eventually attack Pella. The main concern is, of course, the Romans have quite a lot of armies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 armies over here that I can see, so it's not going to be easy to keep them at bay any longer. We're still in the midst of our first Punic War. Keep in mind, they declared the Punic War against us in the first episode. Of course, the community poll told that I should basically lose the first Punic War, lose the entirety of Sicilia, Corsica, and Sardinia. However, since the Roman AI has not been very aggressive towards me, I have decided to kind of contain them within Italia and pretty much carry on with my campaign. And then eventually, when I have enough armies, I am going to fight head on. It's going to be a very interesting fight against the Romans because, of course, as you can see, they have 6 armies over here. It's not going to be easy to take them out. However, with that, there's not much else left to do in this turn, so let's go ahead and end the turn. But before we do that, a quick look at all of our characters, see if we can promote any of them. Right now we can promote this guy, so let's go ahead and rank him up. Promotions are very important because they allow you to gain more modifiers with each successive rank in office, giving more tax rate, gravitas, loyalty, and many other modifiers that vary from faction to faction. However, with that, not much else left to do in this turn, so we're going to go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future because I don't think anything of note is going to happen in the next few turns. We are just going to stay put and try to replenish And then after that, we're going to try to push towards Iadar and begin our offensive towards Patavium. Meanwhile, the Apuani have broken their military alliance with us, but they're still quite friendly with us. Right now, it's not going to be easy to attack the Romans anymore because they have a lot of armies stationed in almost every single city in the Italian peninsula, so it's not going to be that easy. Even if we attack Beneventum, we'll have to rush out quickly and then pretty much leave the Romans over there, kind of split up between the two. But yeah, I think the Romans are going to be a very tough adversary, despite their small size, because they just have so many armies, so it's not going to be easy to invade Italia proper right now. We can perform some minor campaigns of raids and jump back into the sea, but we can't really perform that march we did with Mago in the previous episode, where we pretty much marched unopposed from Beneventum to Asculum to Aruminum to Arretium and all the way finally to Genua. So that's not going to be possible anytime soon. However, with that, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when we are ready to attack Pella and wipe out the Ardiaei. Of course, we're still at war with the Odrysians. I'm not entirely sure if I can piece them out. They actually hate our living guts because, of course, we are in a war against the Ardiaei, so they will not really be friendly with us anytime soon. But since they actually have 3 stacks of armies over here, they might leave Naissos undefended, so I'll have to see how that goes. The real thing over here is I have to control the Adriatic Sea. I have to break the land bridge over here with the Romans in Cisalpina, so conquer Iadar, break the land bridge from which they can attack Iadar from the land, control the Adriatic so they cannot really get into Illyria that easily, or Macedonia. And then, of course, that will enable me to have my 3 armies that are stationed in Hellas free reign to go ahead and attack the Odrysian kingdom. However, with that, let's go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to a couple of turns into the future. We are going to take the trade. And something of note over here, we have a Roman fleet close to Apollonia and another Roman army that's actually stationed in the port of Taras, which means they can perhaps attack Apollonia. So I'm not going to take any chances, but right now over here I have gone ahead and gotten rid of some of my Balearic slingers and replaced them with some Cretan archers. We're going to move this army all the way over here, Saba 3 Kisco. Move him all the way to Saba 1 Hannibal and transfer over some of those troops. We're even going to transfer off an Agrianian axeman. If we can recruit one, we can. If we can't, then that's a little bit unfortunate. We're going to move Saba 1 Hannibal into the port, because in the next turn, we are going to launch our offensive into Pella. That's right. Even though they have 2 armies of Odrysians over here, we are going to be attacking the settlement of Pella. That being said, we can take a quick look at some of our provinces. We can upgrade them, upgrade as many buildings as we possibly can. Let's do that. And right over here, we can finally go ahead and build a future stables, warhorse breeder. And that means we no longer require it to be in Athens, and we can just simply convert that into a research, building, an academia. However, let's take a quick look at our politics. Politics seems to be fine. Everyone's fairly loyal. We're just going to keep sending gifts to the least loyal of the political parties so as to improve their loyalty, but also to make sure that Hamilcar is increasing his gravitas and is securing his succession. We're going to move our dignitary over here because I do believe this is owned by the landowners party, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. And what that basically means is that we're going to get a significant amount of loyalty from them. There you have it, because of course the dignitary does have the ability of demagogue, which gives a loyalty for the political party that's present in that province. Meanwhile, at Kartuba, we do have Saba 5 Hamilcar. He's basically chilling over here, waiting for, of course, the mercenary barracks to complete. We are in the process of researching the Sidonian rights, which will give us the ability to upgrade our main barracks, and that's quite important because we can gain access to the legendary Carthaginian Atlas elephants, which are really much better than any of the elephants we're currently rolling with. They do come with 36 men in the unit instead of 18, and on top of that, they actually have missile damage and ammunition. So that is very important over there. Our characters over here are basically replenishing. Considering that we're mostly a mercenary force, it's not going to be too hard for us to replenish, and that's one of the advantage of Carthage. But the main reason I paused in this turn is not just to showcase my amazing economy. Of course, we are almost 200,000 denarii, we are making 45,000 per turn, and we have plus 48 food surplus. But the main reason is, of course, to deal with this Roman threat in the Adriatic Sea. We do have a fleet over here that we can move to engage the Roman fleet. We push them off slightly, and I don't really mind that they have retreated all the way in that direction. What I am going to do is just go back into the port of Epidamnos. Quick look to see what the garrison is like in Epidamnos. We're not yet in a position to launch our invasion of Yadar, but we should be able to soon enough. We also have a spy in the Adriatic Sea that we're trying to move to get a line of sight of what's going on in the Odrysian kingdom, because I do not want to be attacked from Nasos. And from Nasos, it's a good staging point for them to attack either Delminium or Epidamnos. So we really need a spy in the area to give us a line of sight of what is going on in that fog of war, so that we can accordingly move our armies. We can be a bit more confident, attack Yadar, and then move towards Patavium and so forth. Over here, ooh, this Roman army can potentially even reach Delminium. So let's actually go ahead and station ourselves in Delminium and protect that settlement from this Roman army, of course. And yeah, I guess in the next turn we are going to be attacking Yadar, because we can't allow them to have access to this port, through which they can actually gain a lot of movement into Illyria. However, with that, we're going to go ahead and end this turn, and I will see you all in the next turn, where we are going to be focusing on attacking Pella. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Missing supplies in Hellas. Some characters have leveled up, so let's go ahead and give them some abilities, focusing on the empire maintenance, of course, as well as all of the economic benefits. We can even promote him, which is great. And then apart from that, we even have the Saba of Hamilcar that's improved. We're going to focus on the army upkeep and including the night battles, which is very important, of course. And we're going to quickly check over here. This guy Hamilcar is very young, so I'm not really able to promote him, despite him being a very high level general. I'm not able to promote him, and promoting is actually really important, especially as a faction heir, because it does give you the ability to generate more gravitas per turn, which kind of cements your succession. However, over here in Epidamnos, we have a decent garrison, nothing too fancy, but we do have an army of the Odrysians over here. They cannot cross towards Delminium. I keep saying Delminium, but they cannot cross towards Delminium because, of course, the zone of control prevents that river crossing from being, used. So what we are going to do instead is we are going to move very close as possible, and we are going to go into an ambush stance right here. Hopefully they will try to attack the settlement of Epidamnos, and if they do that, then we will be fighting a very interesting ambush battle against them. However, down south over here, we are going to go ahead and attack Pella. It might seem like the auto-resolve is heavily enough against us, but we can, go into a night battle, and that will pretty much... If I don't do a night battle, okay, so I'm surprised that the Odrysians aren't really reinforcing these guys over here. That's interesting. I guess it's because they do not have range on us, and their reinforcing of the settlement is dependent on their range. Their zone of control has to be close enough to us, not the settlement. So if you're attacking a faction that owns the settlement, then they can be pretty much around the settlement, because then the reinforcement is considered the zone of control of the settlement. But I guess if you're attacking a settlement, and if they have allies or friendly troops that are interested in attacking you, even if they're within the zone of control of the settlement, they're not going to be able to attack you, because their actual reinforcement range is not the zone of control. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because it's the zone of control of the Ardiaei and not, of course, the Odrysians. However, before we go ahead and attack them, we'll take a quick look at all of our provinces. We can go ahead and upgrade a lot of these. And over here, we are going to build an academia Fair enough. All right, we're pretty good as far as our buildings is concerned. So let's just go ahead and attack the Ardiaei. We are going to be showcasing this battle. It's going to be it's not going to be a very easy battle because of course it is a walled settlement, so yeah, we might face a little bit of difficulty, but we're going to quick save over here, hop into the battle. I'm going to be showcasing this battle, of course, and yeah, pretty much after that I think I will be going ahead and ending the episode because we're close to that 1.5 hour mark. All right, welcome to the battle or the siege of Pella, the Macedonian capital, which is currently under the possession of the Ardiaei. It is their last settlement, which means if we take over this settlement, then we pretty much have, you know, the Ardiaei on the ropes. And of course, you can see that we are starting to attack the settlement. Of course, I do apologize, the battlefield is a little bit bright, so let's just quickly pause over here. We're gonna quickly turn down the gamma a bit just to make the battlefield a little bit more visually appealing, and there you have it. Okay, that's a lot better. Sometimes of course due to the you know, the mods that I'm playing with, the lighting can be a little bit bright, so yeah, I'm just gonna quickly adjust that. And of course we are going to be scaling the walls over here using of course our melee troops because they are the best of course when it comes to scaling the walls. Eventually I'm gonna start using hoplite troops because I have found out that even though they don't have an advantage fighting on the ramparts, they're a lot more tankier than melee units, which means they can sustain quite well in the battle, of course, and that of course is of course a desirable thing, but you know, I do realize that when I did record this episode, I eventually switched out my hoplites for pike units. And it's not like pike units are bad per se, they are really good frontline units, but for the most part, these pike units are a little bit underwhelming, these mercenary pikemen available in Macedonia. Meanwhile, the hoplite units, or the mercenary veteran Greek hoplite units available in Hellas, are absolute monsters, and they would count as 4th class population for us, so they're definitely a better option. What I do find more interesting is that hoplite units, unlike pike units, are a little bit more versatile, whereas pike units are a bit more frontline type units, which means pikemen really have a very limited role in an offensive siege kind of a scenario. So definitely having hoplite is going to be a lot more versatile, but I might have to rely on pikemen should I, you know, get into a conflict against Diadochi, and then of course hoplites are completely useless against the pikemen of Diadochi. However, as you can see, we have scaled the walls. We managed to rout out some of the enemy units, and we're just throwing some of our javelins down because of course these guys are Agrianian axemen, which means they do have some of the javelins which they are going to throw down towards the enemy. And of course, throwing your javelins from the heights of the ramparts into the enemy down below is extremely devastating. As you can see over here, we are in the process of trying to burn the gates, which is what we want to do so that our pikemen can get involved. The idea over here, as usual, is to neutralize the enemy gates so that they no longer can pour down you know, oil on our troops that slowly enter through the gates. But for that to happen, of course, we have to first burn down the gates. The idea over here is to inflict 100% fire damage on the gate, after which the gate automatically starts to get more and more damaged. And once the gate is actually 100% damaged, then it will actually break open, allowing our units to reinforce or to enter the settlement. However, as you can see, this battle is pretty long. It's gonna take 13 minutes to complete this battle because of course we are waiting for more and more of our units to get involved in the battle. What we are trying to do over here is rush to the other tower, which is still firing at us, and we really need to neutralize it to minimize our own casualties. So what we're trying to do is just try to engage these units on the ramparts, these local citizen militia hoplite, and once we get rid of them, then we are going to try to neutralize this tower. We have already neutralized this gate over here, so we're no longer taking any missile fire from the gate. Conversely, on the opposite side of the battlefield, you can see that we're sending some of our Scutari mercenari to kind of neutralize this tower as well. And keep in mind, towers can really inflict a lot of damage if ignored, so you want to try to neutralize enemy towers as quickly as possible. That being said, of course, it's going to be a while before we burn down these gates and progress to the next phase of this battle, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward into the future, and I will see you guys in that future. Alright guys, welcome to the future of the battle. As you can see, we have completely burnt down the gates, 100% fire damage, and you can see that gate damage slowly tick up, and once it's 100%, the gates will be opened. The gates have been neutralized. Meanwhile, we're in the process of neutralizing this enemy tower over here, as well as the enemy tower on the right hand side. We've managed to secure the ramparts entirely. And of course, we do have some enemy naval reinforcements that have landed on our shores, or rather their shores, but it is going to be our shores pretty soon. And the objective over here is to charge in with our cavalry as quickly as possible and try to take them out. And I really love the effects of this MI tiny VFX with that dirt being kicked up by the cavalry. I highly recommend this mod, guys. It's just amazing in terms of its VFX. And of course, for those of you wondering, mods are always going to be linked in the description of my videos, so please do not ask me in the comment section what mods I'm using. Just check out the description of the video. They are neatly listed in the order that I put them up in. Keep in mind that I have also included links so that you can easily gain access to these mods. Some mods are not available, they are personal mods, and I do not have the rights to share them, unfortunately. So I'm not going to be sharing those mods, but I will still mention it in the description, of course, because I want you guys to be fully aware of what mods I am I am using, and if they are available, then please do go ahead and subscribe to those mods if you want to. And over here, very quickly, as through the breach, I do decide elephants are some of the best units to charge in, especially if they do not have a presence of spear units over here. And you do see that they do have a local phalanx unit, but they are routing, so they're not going to be much of a trouble for us. So we have charged in our elephants. However, the last thing I wanted to mention in regards to mods, of course, is keep in mind the release date of this video. As a lot of you guys, I mean, not specifically the guys who are watching this right now because you're probably up to date, but for a lot of people who watch this video after a significant amount of time has passed, many of these mods that I do use are going to be out of date, so they may or may not work. So a lot of these mods I am not the author of, so I do not or cannot really upgrade them. And even though I could technically upgrade them, I have no interest in being the author of several mods that I have to keep updating, because I do have a lot of work to do with Divided Impera team, and of course having to update a lot of mods is definitely going to cut in to my busy schedule, so to speak. However, that being said and done, you can see we are slowly trying to gain control of the streets over here. And this is something that is not ideal because, of course, my micromanagement is a little bit off. But what I should be doing over here is just try to give chase to some of these missile units so that they stop pelting my own units. Meanwhile, outside the settlement walls, we have finally dealt with the enemy reinforcements. And we are now just primarily focusing on taking out the enemy units within the settlements near the gates, allowing our own units to engage over here. So nothing much. There's just 5 minutes left to the battle, which means we're going to win pretty soon. It seems like the enemy is on the back foot. Most of the units have been dealt with. Of course, they do have some units over here that are still fighting, but they're going to be absolutely no match for my elephant units. And this is something you really need to watch out for when you're playing with as elephants. Now, elephants for the most part have really high HP, so you see 2 units over here. One of the units has 18 out of 18, which means it's pretty good. The other one has just lost a couple of elephant units, which means this is the turning point in this particular elephant unit. If you're a little bit careless with this kind of elephant unit, they will start to drop like flies because they've kind of used up or depleted their health pool reserves. So you got to be a little bit careful when you see a couple of losses among your elephant units. And typically me as a player, I absolutely hate taking even a single casualty with my elephant units, because that is the moment in which the elephant units are the most vulnerable. So the minute you see that happening, be a little bit more cautious about how you use your elephant units. And for that very reason, you can see that I'm actually charging with the more complete elephant units towards that unit, so that of course they can tank a little bit more of the damage, and then I'm of course going to supplement them with the weaker elephant unit, which can still be pretty devastating in a melee. However, on this side of the battlefield, you still have a lot of enemy missile units raining down hell on our troops, and I'm not really responding to that, but right now I am actually sending my Numidian cavalry to deal with the situation over here. You can see that they are charging into the settlement. They're going to go turn around the corner, and I like to stay in a narrow formation because, as you can see, that pathfinding becomes a lot more crisp with the narrow formations, a lot more maneuverable, and there you have it. We're going to charge into these enemy units. And for some reason the pathfinding actually stops over there, but the other unit just charges into the enemy units. And Numidian cavalry are not really exceptional in melee, but of course against missile units they're going to pretty much do the job, and they are actually better equipped to handle melee or infantry units because they are equipped with a sword, which means they are more tuned to anti-infantry rather than anti-cavalry, because cavalry with swords as their primary melee weapon are going to be a lot better against infantry. Meanwhile, cavalry with spears as their primary melee weapon are going to be a lot more effective against enemy cavalry, and that kind of makes sense. Meanwhile, over here, elephants charging once again into these units, but of course they are going to be tired. As you can see, starting to take a bit more losses with that unit. It is winning decisively. This unit is taking quite a bit of losses, and there you have it. They are broken. But unfortunately we do have a spear unit charging over here. You can see that I'm desperately trying to move our elephants out because I don't want my elephants to take a bit too many casualties. However, unfortunately some of them do get stuck, because elephants, as deadly as they are in a settlement fight, as you can see over here, they have dished out a lot of casualties, 519 for that unit. Meanwhile, the other unit has gotten about 395, almost 400 kills. But the major drawback of elephant units in a settlement fight is that they are extremely big, which means their pathfinding is going to be a lot more wonky, so to speak. But just in the nick of time, I do manage to send down my Agranian mercenaries, but these guys are extremely weakened. They have fought quite a lot on the ramparts, although they are fresh and although they are winning decisively. They're just about 50% strength. So not an ideal situation. I do want to end the fight over there as quickly as possible, because this unit is also fresh. They are a Illyrian militia spear unit, which means they do have quite a lot of defensive value, which actually puts my Agranians in a very bad position. Even though Agranians are technically a much better unit on paper, you can see that they are starting to lose decisively simply because they are outnumbered. So the main objective over here is to try to somehow encircle this unit and try to relieve my Agranians before they are wiped out, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do over here with the cavalry charging into the flanks of this unit. They are going to lose decisively. However, it's not a clean charge. Most of these units, they're not amazing on the charge, Numidian cavalry of course, but they are going to do the job. And what we want over here is for this unit to quickly break as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, in a desperate attempt, I am trying to move my elephants across. And keep in mind, elephants can do this quite effectively because they have high mass, which means they can push past any units. But you have to be very careful, because if they do get bogged down, then they're going to take quite a lot of casualties. As you saw over there, we lost a elephant unit, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually from the weaker unit. And there you have it. It is absolutely from that weaker unit. So what we're going to try to do over here is now rear charge and try to return the favor against this militia unit. They have significantly weakened our Agranian mercenaries, but there we have it. Just in the nick of time, as our Agranian mercenaries start to wave up, we managed to score a decisive charge over here, breaking that militia unit. And of course, charging a very light militia unit like this from the rear is going to be absolutely devastating. Meanwhile, over here, this unit is fighting, still fighting, even though they are about 50% strength, which is really commendable. They are shaken, but they're still fresh, and it's going to take time to get rid of them. So the idea over here is just take a look at the balance of power on the bottom left hand side of your screen, of course, as I can show you over here. I'm just going to circle it kind of. I can't really circle the UI, but you want to crush that balance of power as quickly as I did over there. And in my attempt to basically kind of highlight what I was looking at, we already won the battle, because once that balance of power shifts heavily in your favor, all of the enemy units that are left on the battlefield are pretty much going to break and rout because they feel that they no longer can defeat you because you have a vast numerical superiority over those units. However, that being said and done, we have won the Siege of Pella, so I will see you all back in the campaign. And with that, we have a heroic victory. We managed to conquer the final settlement of the Ardiaei, the settlement of Pella, the capital of the Macedonians. And we are going to go ahead and just peacefully occupy the settlement this time because we want to replenish just a little bit. We can't go into the port just yet because we have 2 full stacks of Odrysian armies outside of the settlement, of course, so we will definitely just have to peacefully occupy it so that we can be stationed within the settlement, preventing, of course, the Odrysians from attacking us. We could potentially even attack the Odrysians over here, but I'm not too interested in that. Let's just go ahead and upgrade our cavalry. We are just going to retain this building. Meanwhile, over here, we can go ahead and start building a barracks over there. We dismantle this building over here. We could, in fact, make this into a warhorse pens, I think. I think that's going to be the play. Or actually, you know what? I'm just going to disband it or break it up because I want to build a sanitation building instead. With that, things are looking quite good over here. We're going to check very quickly. We are in the need of getting another Agrarian axeman. Unfortunately, we can't do that just yet. All the way over here, we can even upgrade the cavalry in this army. And we're going to take a quick look at the cavalry over here. So let's go ahead and do that. With that, we're looking quite good. In this episode, we managed to conquer quite a big chunk of the Hellenic world. Of course, we're still avoiding Italy like the plague, but we will have to deal with the Romans soon enough because, yeah, things are not looking too good for us. Our next major focus is, of course, going to be the Odrysian kingdom over here. We're going to have to cut them down to size and take them over. And we also need to push the Romans out of Illyria. So quite a lot of interesting things that can follow in the coming episodes. So yeah, just stay tuned for more, I guess. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. I hope you all enjoyed. And if you liked the video, then like the video. And don't forget to subscribe if you are interested for more. Peace and love.